On this episode of Carnage, we've got a lot to do and no time to do it. So here we are back in the Carnage workshop, and I've got to say it has been a hectic couple of weeks. We've had Drag Challenge weekend, just done the Hot Wheels live streams. If you missed them, check them out, where the Hot Wheels Legends tour has been doing the rounds again. So I was a guest judge on that, which was awesome. But obviously it takes a bit of time to set up and organise as well. And then obviously we've had Matt, our video guy, who's in here 3 times a week filming for us. He come down with COVID, then his lovely and very pregnant wife, who is an ER nurse, also come down with COVID, so sort of double hit of the COVID. And yeah, it means we've been without a video guy for a couple of weeks. We've also been without a lot of car parts in a couple of weeks. We've been hit by this whole, just stuff is hard to come by. So we've been stockpiling a little bit, trying to get stuff in for as many projects as we can. We've got a new turbo sitting on the bench there for Trollbo, just waiting on the intake for that. We've got a bunch of stuff for the 1UZ engine for the Lexan sitting there as well. So we've been a bit thin on the content. Stuff has been slowly coming in. We've got it now, or most of it, and we'll be able to roll back into those projects very shortly. However, it is Motorex this weekend, right? Today is Tuesday, the weekend. Yeah, we've got to have a car ready to put to the show. Now, the MX5 is pretty much ready, show ready. It's attractive, the kids love it, we can roll it into the show. VPW have asked that we put it on their stand. The problem being is it doesn't have much VPW parts on it. So we're going to be loading a few pits into this thing for the show and obviously for long term. But yes, we're adding some VPW goodness to the Mazda this episode, and I've got to have it ready by the weekend, which sounds like a long time, but I am by myself. So these episodes, or this episode, is going to have a real Scotty's Garage feel with me talking to the camera and then fixed positions and stuff like that. So yeah, this one's all me. Shooting, editing, filming, producing, pretty much everything. All Scotty, all the time. Anyway, let's get started and let me tell you what we're going to be dealing with. Well, unless you've been hiding under a rock somewhere, you'll know that VPW have come on board as a sponsor for Carnage. And VPW is one of the largest retailers of performance parts here in Australia. Not only do they sell performance parts, but they also make them, as evidenced by this very large Proflow catalogue here. So that's 298 pages of goodness. Not only do they do Proflow lines and performance parts, they also do Proforce safety equipment, RTS driveline equipment, diffs and all that sort of stuff, plus Street Pro wheels as well. So they make a lot of gear, and wow, like I said, 298 pages of goodness there. So I've had a bit of a look through that, grabbed out some stuff that, well, we can put on the Mazda and also see from the outside. Sure, I could put a whole bunch of stuff into the Mazda, but you're not going to see a lot of it on the show stand, that sort of thing. So we want stuff that's going to be immediately evident as being VPW products on the stand. And the Mazda attracts a lot of attention, so I think it's a good car for the stand. Let's have a look at some of the stuff. We've got, all right, what's that? One of the catch cans. We've got Proflow lines there, some of their 400 series push lock hose there for the catch can overflow stuff. Little mounting bracket that goes across the front of the barrel rocket cover for mounting oil lines and water lines. Allows you to sort of neaten things up. So they've got a Proflow bracket for that. We've also got a Proflow clamp just to tidy things up here at the front of the intake manifold there. A XR6 turbo style oil filter and line kit, so all pre-terminated and everything with a little filter in the line. So stuff that we can add to it. Bunch of Proflow fittings for that 400 series hose, so all in nice little individual bags. A race harness for our race seat, and I think that's another catch can or overflow bottle of some description. Yep, there we go. So catch can as well. So very sexy parts, all well made and nicely priced. So we've got all that to load up onto the Mazda. That shouldn't take too long, hopefully. But we've also got, prepare yourself, these very sexy wheels. Check them out. So these are 15 by 10s, so big girls. They are beadlock style, but they're not actually beadlock. They're kind of a fake beadlock, but beadlocks are all the fashion. We don't actually need them, but these are a good solid wheel, well made, and they look, well, very sexy. These are going to look awesome on our little Mazda, and it should look great on the stand. So I've actually been and seen my mate Adam at MPW. He had a pair of old drag radials left over from Drag Challenge. We're going to put them on these so I don't have to strip and fit these wheels and tyres, which is a pain in the nuggets, I've got to say. So yeah, managed to pick up a set of old drag radials off Adam. We're going to fit them to these, get them on the Mazda, see how they sit. Now these come in a variety of offsets. I think we've got it pretty much right. I guess we'll see. Hopefully this does not hurt us. But I love them. These are going to look amazing on the Mazda. So we'll get these down to the tyre place, get them fitted with some drag radials, and we will get them on the car. It's going to be awesome. Let's get this party started. So the cool thing about this Proflow kit is not only do you get a nice anodized billet bracket for the front of the rocker cover, but you get these oil and water line separators to keep everything neat and tidy. You usually don't get that with these sort of kits. So yeah, well done to Proflow. That is awesome. So we'll get this on the front of the rocker cover and yeah, get things looking neat and tidy. Now before I tie in my oil and water lines to our new Proflow bracket, I'm going to fit our Proflow Oil Line Kit, which is very much like most of the kits that you've seen. I do like a couple little features. I love that it has a 90-degree fitting on this end. Notice how this line kicks straight up from the turbo, so it loops around. It's a little bit untidy. This one has a 90, so we can run 90 around and follow the line of the water hose, which will be awesome. So I like that feature. It has obviously a little filter in there. Forget the microns it goes down to, but basically this is to keep all the junk out of your turbo and make sure you've got a long life for your turbo regardless of what brand it is. Obviously it has in and out, very important. Don't forget that. Yeah, some people do. But we've got those, we've got fittings, we've got even instructions. So maybe give them a look over before you fit it. I'm sure it'll be fine, but I will give it a little look anyway. It actually says 30 microns. So yeah, it'll filter out all the junk above 30 microns. 30 microns is pretty small. So we'll get that on there, and then we'll tidy up our oil and water lines, and then we'll move on to our catch can and breather hoses. It's all happening pretty quickly. Perfect. So I've just fitted the heat shield to the front half of the manifold here, which this car's never had, so it's looking pretty nice. I like that. I can't do the back half because there's so much here with the external wastegate. You'd be cutting away basically most of the shield, so there's really no point. I have noticed though the top of the wastegate here, our 60mm wastegate, is looking pretty ordinary. It's had some hot fluid on there that has affected the anodizing. And I just realised we have another one of these wastegates, so I'm going to replace the top of this just so it looks a bit nicer for the show. Yeah, we'll whip that off, see how we go. Should probably replace the wastegate spring at the same time. Sounds like a good idea, doesn't it? Okay, so let's talk about wastegate springs for a sec. So the wastegate at the moment has this what they call the black/white spring. So it's black on the bottom, white on the top. That's the way Turbo Smart identify their springs. This one is a 7 psi spring. With that we saw a maximum of 17 pounds of boost on the dyno and 560 rear wheel horsepower. Now, we've got to put a heavier spring in there. Now, we had these sitting in the cupboard. This is the black/blue ones. So you can see it's a lot thicker in diameter. We can combine if we want. I think it's a bit of overkill. But this is the 10-pound spring. So if we put that on there, I reckon that'll get us to where we need to be. And at the end of the day, we only need a couple extra pounds to kind of see where we want to be. Like, I'd love to see this thing make 600 rear wheel horsepower. If we can get a couple more pounds of boost out of this thing, we'll be there. I think we can always add a second spring later, but let's go just the increase to 10 pounds, 10-pound spring. Takes a bit of pressure to push that down. I don't think I'd be able to do this with 2 springs in there either. And like I said before, I'm by myself today, so... And you've got to kind of be careful to screw them down evenly so you don't hurt the wastegate. Alright, so I've got 3 in there. That's pretty good. Tighten a couple down. Alright, last 3. sure they're all tight. Cool. So next up we've got the catch can. So we've got our nice Proflow unit here. It's black. We want to make this one black so it hides it up the back of the engine bay. That way all you're looking at is the engine. We want people to focus on the engine, but we still need a catch can. So we'll whip this one off, replace it with the Proflow unit. Also redo these lines and fittings in Proflow lines and fittings. Right, so I reckon that looks pretty good. Nice and dark that side, engine in the middle, that's the way we want it. Obviously got to do a lot of dust blowing off and clean up as well. We're going to redo these lines in 400 series hose, so we've got the push lock hose. It's a low pressure situation, so no need for hose clamps or anything like that. Basically on and down. We've got our push lock fittings to suit there. Now if you're going to use this stuff in like a high pressure situation like transmission lines or whatever, Proflow themselves do recommend that you put a hose clamp on there just to secure it tight. But in something like this where it's never really going to see any high pressure, just the push lock stuff by itself will be fine. And that pretty much goes across all the brands that use push lock hoses. They do recommend hose clamps, you know, when you're using them in high pressure situations. So yeah. Okay, let's get these lines done. So when I'm doing push lock hoses, I like to have my little bench vise here. I've got my aluminium jaw set there from Proflow in there. They do them in aluminium, they also do them in nylon. If you're worried about marking up your fittings, the aluminium, if you do them up tight, you're not going to mark them. Nylon gives you just that little bit of extra protection. Got our push lock fittings there, got our hose there. So what we do is we hit it with a bit of silicone spray, a bit down the hose, a bit in the fitting, and get it started. And we'll lock it up in the vise. Push it all the way on, which that is. Cool. Well, that's one end done. We'll measure it up and work out our next one. So if we do it to there, there's my fitting. Do that one to the bottom. get a little bit of Hassan chop action. There we go. Okay. There we go. Okay. Right, got our little shifter from Proflow, of course. Voila! Done. Awesome. Well, that has been a pretty good start. We only got a few more things to do. Got to get our wheels on, get our harness in, a few things like that, and do a general tidy up on the car. A lot of cleaning, but yeah, we've made a good start on it. So I reckon that's beer o'clock. Come back and see you tomorrow. So this morning we've been running around all morning getting tyres fitted to rims. So there's our sexy looking rims fitted with a set of actually pretty good second-hand drag radials we got off from Adam at MPW. Got the wheel nuts to suit. So it's time to get those onto those. Big shout out to guys at Motorsport Wheels and Tyres for knocking these out in record time, which is awesome of them. Anyway, it's time to get these old steelies off and get some luxury on there. They look so good. The fun part with the Mazda when putting rear wheels on this thing is you've got to jack it right up, put jack stands under the chassis rails, and they'll let the diff sit right down to get the wheels off. It sucks, but sometimes it's the way you've got to do it. Well, you've got to say that looks a lot better. Certainly better than those old Steelies. Now I'm going to have to polish the fronts.